All right, we're joined at the podium by Emporia State head coach Garin, Higgins, sophomore quarterback Braxton Marstall, and junior defensive back Marcus Houghton. We'll start with an opening statement from Coach.
Yeah, first I want to say thank you to the MIAA, Mike Racy, Josh Slaughter, Phil Laurie. I always talk all the time about the MIAA being the best Division II football conference in the country. The way they run things is first class, and this is a great indicator of that, having the media day here in a great venue and being able to bring players here too as well, I think is awesome. And also it's kind of an indicator of football is right around the corner. I know we're anxious to get started just like everybody else is. Everybody that's been here is excited about their team, is ready to get the fall started, and they feel good about where they're at. You know, I feel the same way, but I think you truly don't know. I think the important thing for us, I think has been vitally important for us, is I think your players learn from the players that played before them, and everything's inherited to where if you had good leadership in the past, and I think that we have, and I think it's important for our guys we're going to find out whether they learned from them. I think, you know, the things as far as how they need to work in the off season, in the summertime, how they need to conduct themselves, how they need to go about their business each and every day. Hopefully our guys have learned those lessons, and I think that I think they have. But again, you know, our leadership won't show until we play that first game Thursday night, and I think it'll show throughout the course of the season. And I think that's because that's when adversity is going to hit. I mean, the most adversity that's hit us here in the spring and in the summer is not having any water at Emporia. But once we fought through that adversity, we got through that okay. So we know things are going to get tougher here first game of the year.
All right, we'll start with questions for players. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. Fans, if you'd like to get a question in, it's hashtag AskMIAA Media Day.
You kind of mentioned it, but that first game obviously looms large. How excited are you to get the season kicked off with an atmosphere like that should end up being?
Yeah, well, that's the atmosphere at Northwest Missouri is unbelievable. It's awesome, and I think it is exciting. I mean, you want your program to be able to play in those type of games, that type of atmosphere, and there's none better than Northwest Missouri. You know, we've played them so much here the past few years. I know we both know each other really well, and as a team, we understand who we got. But to me, the most important part is what we're doing each and every day in camp. That time's going to come. You know, we got to get better each and every day. We got to look to improve each and every day. We got to stay healthy in camp is vitally important going into the season too as well.
Stephen Coleman with the Emporia Gazette. Braxton, coming in, you guys are picked fourth in the country. One of those publications that selected Emporia State fourth picked you as preseason offensive player of the year. Does some of those accolades at this point, do they kind of change the way you guys enter camp, or what do you think about those things entering camp?
I don't give that stuff much thought, honestly. And what those awards, honestly, it's not an individual award. It's a team sport, and I wouldn't be nominated for that if I didn't have great football players around me. So, yeah, I have to give it to them.
You lose Mitch Foote, an outstanding receiver, but how important will a lot of these weapons, Justin Brown and the like, lengthy list there, how important will those be for you guys to continue maintaining such a strong offense?
Losing Mitch, that was a big part. He's a good football player, but we have people. Next person in the line, they'll be there and they'll fill the role, and I think we won't miss a step.
Marcus, talk a little bit about. You guys are coming into camp having 2 consecutive playoff berths. What's your mentality? What's your approach to the camp with having that success? At your time here at Emporia State.
Yeah, all that stuff was in the past, and this is a completely new team, new year. So it's all about preparing for this year, and we got to take it one day at a time. Get ready for camp to start here, and get ready for the new season.
A lot of defensive turnover. A lot of significant defensive players have graduated and moved on. Does that add pressure to you, or what are you guys looking to accomplish as a defense here in this these first few weeks of practice as you're getting closer to the season?
Yeah, it's really about seeing the guys who are going to step up, us veterans teaching the younger guys how to do things, and we're just going to see who comes to play in camp and who turns up their game.
Randy Spear with the Warrensburg Daily Star-Journal. For either player, was there extra fuel to the fire knowing the team that knocked you out of the playoff would be right back at your front steps at the start of the next year?
Are you asking me?
Either player.
I can answer it.
Anyone can answer it, I guess.
Okay, I got it.
Who's going to step up?
I got it.
Who's going to step
I guess
up?
4 of our last 5 losses have come from Northwest, so I guess you could say there's a little bit more fuel because how many times we see them and the outcome of the games haven't been in our favor. So I guess you could say we're kind of tired of feeling that way after each game.
Further questions for players? All right, we'll open up questions for Coach.
And then for Coach, kind of along those same lines, with Northwest getting a new head coach this year, do you feel like this could be the possibility you're going to get them week 1 that you might be able to knock them off and take that top spot in the MIAA for at least a week?
I've been asked that question quite a bit today, to be honest with you, and unfortunately, Coach Doral, I think he was probably a great player when he played there back in his day, but he wasn't making any catches last year or making any tackles or. So, and then I also think a tribute to a program, honestly, is the type of assistant coaches that you have and the type of guys that understand how things are done there. I don't think they're going to miss a beat. The whole coaching staff is back. What I look at going into this year's game is we had a saying there at Emporia State, and it's a tribute to them because we have great respect for them. Is the triangle? We called them the triangle of death. They're no longer there. The 2 defensive ends and the Mike linebacker. I know that's a harsh word, but that's how we thought about it. So those are the guys I look at that they're not coming back more than I do that they lost their head coach and Coach Doral. And he did an unbelievable job, did a great job there, but I bet you that he would be the first to tell you, just as Coach Hirschman would too, that the national championships, when they win them, it's about the players and your assistant coaches.
Coach, you talked about Northwest and their coaching staff. What about your coaching staff? How valuable have they been to you the last 4 or 5 seasons? Coach Higgins.
Oh, okay. I was looking at nodded off there for a second. That's been very important for us. It's been a long journey for us to get to this point. I mean, we've done a lot of things at Emporia State that's never, ever been done in Emporia State football. And, there's been a lot of adversity along the ways, but I think one of the important things, and I've had a lot of different coaches, it's very normal for when you have a coaching staff at the Division II level to lose coaches each and every year. But I've been very fortunate to keep the guys that I have here the past 3 or 4 years, 90% of those guys intact. And I think because culture and the way that we do things at Emporia State is such a plan for our success. They understand how things need to be done there. And those guys do a great job. They understand what's expected of them. They understand the type of players that they need to go out and recruit for us to be successful. We lost a very good strength and conditioning coach in Justin Weiser, who played at Emporia State, but I was able to replace him with Austin Willis, who is another great player. I think both these guys would tell you that anytime you have a strength and conditioning coach, you want that guy to be able to do what they asked of their players during the spring and the summer, and there's not another player out there that would be able to do what he asked these guys to do and probably do it better. I mean, because he was the hardest working player that I ever coached, and for him to have the opportunity to be a strength coach, plus he understands how we do things, how we go about our business each and every day, and what's our expectation level of our players is. I think that's been huge for us, for him to fill that role, and I think not miss a beat. And like I said, my coaching staff, they do a great job. Probably don't get enough credit. Anytime I get the opportunity to let them know how important they are, they got to deal with me on an everyday basis. That's a challenge in itself. But I think that those guys do understand that I appreciate them, and we would not have the success without those guys and the players.
Over the last 4 or 5 seasons, where have you seen maybe the biggest improvement with your program?
I think depth. I think there's great players in the MIAA. There's at wherever they're at, bottom teams, middle teams, top teams. Everybody's got great players in this league. I think the depth is the thing that is where I look at us right now, where we got a lot of guys at a lot of different positions where, unfortunately, guys get hurt in this game. It's a physical game that you got guys there that can replace them, and hopefully you don't miss a beat. And I think there's a lot of competition as well. I think there's a lot of guys that can play for us, and I think competition, and that old saying, iron sharpens iron, I think that's very indicative of our team where we're at right now, that guys know that if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, if they're not accountable, if we can't trust them, then there's going to be somebody there to take their place.
All right, Marcus, talk a little bit about getting to go against Braxton in practice. Obviously, you're facing a quarterback that's played in elite games. You're going to be able to learn a lot from that. How important is that for you on defense?
Yeah, going against Braxton and our high-powered offense in practice, it only makes our defense better. We got a bunch of great receivers. The whole offense is high-powered, so it only makes the DBs going against the wide receivers and going against Braxton, a quarterback of his caliber, it makes us a lot better every day.
Braxton, kind of the same question going against that defense.
Yeah, especially in camp and spring ball, it's challenging when you get later in. They get more familiar with what you're doing and what you're lining up and what plays might be run, so they're getting better at guessing it, which makes my job a lot easier, a lot harder actually, of where I should go with the ball.
Coach, talk a little bit about having Braxton back. Obviously a young quarterback that's returning. Talk a little bit about just having that kind of guy under center.
Well, anytime you have a returning starter coming back in the MIAA is huge, and having that experience. Last year when I was up here going into the fall season, we were breaking in a new starter. We knew it was going to be Braxton at the time. I think in the back of our minds, we knew he was going to have the opportunity to be very, very good. He got thrown into the fire as a true freshman, so he's matured a lot as a player. I think he knows going into this year, I think the challenge for him was to continue to work hard because there's nobody behind him. He knew that he was going to be the starter in the spring. He knows that he's going to be the starter come August 31st. The thing about that is I think he's done a really good job of taking it to another level with his leadership, both on and off the field with our players. He's a very competitive individual. He's got the right type of mindset. He's very even keel. I always say a lot different than the guy that coaches him, which is myself. He's very even keel, handles pressure well. I think the sky's the limit for him. I've told him that you can be as good as you want to be. The more time you put into improving your craft, because he has the physical tools. He's tall, he's big, he's got great arm strength. If he understands the offense in and out better and can anticipate things just a little bit better, I think he's got a chance to be even better than he was last year.
Braxton, kind of speak to that. You walk out onto the field against number one in your first game. Talk about the things you learned last year as the season went on. Obviously tough getting right out there in the fire, like Coach said. What you learned and how maybe you'll apply that to this season.
Going back and just watching the first game against Northwest, it was ugly, honestly. From where I was at the beginning of the season to where I was at the end, you learn a lot. Not really about fundamentals, about just the game, watching film, and what you can do by watching film, just learning how to improve, of learning defenses and stuff like that.
All right, any further questions for Coach? We got one back there.
Coach, in retrospect last year, can you address how your team was able to recover early in the year from its loss to Northwest and create such a successful season?
Yeah, that's a great question, because after the first game last year, we took the opening drive and went down with a brand new starter at quarterback, and I think drove 85 yards and put points on the board. We're all feeling pretty good over there, but what we did, we just poked a grumpy bear, and they woke up over there, and then it was, we didn't do much after that. I didn't know after that game, to be quite honest with you. I thought, well, I don't know how good we are. I didn't know if we were going to be, because we got dominated that game, and I thought, well, maybe we're not going to be very good this year. I didn't know it, but I attribute that to the coaching staff and the players. Again, everything that we do is an inheritance of what our guys that have played before these guys have done, and how they are as teammates, how they work every day. And I think that our leadership was really good at that time, and we went and played Kearney the second game and played really well. And then we won some close games on the road at Central and on the road at Pitt State. who are great football teams, and the ball bounced our way a couple times in those games, and we were able to pull out those victories. And I think that we would just kind of gain momentum. I think the Central Missouri game was really huge for us in gaining momentum throughout the course of the season to kind of finish out the way that we did. And we stayed relatively healthy. I mean, everybody's going to lose some guys, but if you can stay healthy through the course of the MIAA, I've been through that year where Brent Wilson was coming back after a spectacular year in 2013. He goes down in the fourth game of the year with the broken collarbone, and we go 4-7 that year. So the injuries had a lot to do with it too as well.
All right, we probably got time for one more question for Coach. We got a question? All right, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.